The Severe MMA Podcast Premium with Sean Sheehan and Graham MacDonald. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Severe MMA Podcast. Joined today by Ian Garry before his big professional MMA debut anyway, this weekend at Cage Warriors 101. Ian, how are you today?
How's things? All good?
Yeah, I can't complain now. How are things with you? I suppose this is kind of the first time I really speak to someone in the middle of the weight cut. I usually speak to someone maybe a couple of weeks out or a few months out even, but your fight was kind of on short notice and everything like that. For us anyway, us hearing about it. How long have you known about this fight?
Chris sent me a text about, I'd say, a week ago, and said, "What's the crack in? Blah, blah, blah. How's the weight?" And was like, there may be an opportunity. Not going to say anything now until it's set in concrete, but just watch your weight. And I was like, all right, no problem. Yeah, will do. And then he sent me a text on Saturday and goes, all confirmed, let's go. So that was it. I mean, it was kind of, I was doing something with a strength and conditioning coach, Owen Lacey, in the ISI. Yeah. And he was just testing a weight cut because we were meant to be making the debut down in Cork. And he wanted to personally see how my body reacted to weight cut and stuff like that, and no carbs, and how my energy levels were. And he was looking at it from a kind of a nutritionist and sports science background, where I was just doing what I was told. And that kind of set us up perfectly a week and a half into, or week in, sorry, to start the weight cut. And I was like, right, that's grand. It's no problem for me. So it's like everything's falling into place now.
So how much did you actually have to cut from the time you got the call until you have to make weight Friday, I suppose, now, coming up here in 2 days? How much do you have to cut?
Very little. I mean, there's a couple of kilos, but that's going to be the same. I mean, when I was walking around about 83, 84 when he gave me the call anyway, so you can make that in a couple of days if you wanted to. Yeah, so no problems that way. Like, what are you now, like two days out from it now? What's the process for you now? This is I suppose you've cut weight before for the amateur fights, but this is the first real pro fight on short notice as well. Like, what's the process going to be for you for the next couple of days? Making weight's never a problem. I cut weight professionally because of Chris. I couldn't disappoint him by making weight. It's more of an embarrassment if you don't make weight. I mean, it's kind of it's the only thing you really have to do, in a sense. I mean, everyone can show up and fight. It's making weight that's the hardest part. So I'll keep watching what I'm eating, slow down on the water loading's coming down, and then I'll step on that scales at 77.5.
Sounds good. A lot of people, when they heard this fight, and a lot of people like myself and other people covering the sport, it's we talk a lot about the young pros kind of coming up and maybe. It's not taking easier fights coming up, but maybe putting their career in front of them in a certain way where you take a certain step up as you go. This James Sheehan fight, it seems like the two of you are kind of two of the best prospects coming up. Like, was there any thoughts of not taking this fight, or maybe waiting for a different opponent, or did you even care about the name? You just wanted to get a fight?
This is the way me and Chris go about it. Chris will say, as he did, he sent me a text saying, what weight are you? Might have a fight, we'll let you know. And I said, right, cool, I'm in. I said, where, when? And he said, Cage Warriors, Liverpool, February 16th. I said, right, I'm in. He said, do you want to know who it's against? I said, I don't care, let me know when it's confirmed. Yeah. And then he told me, it doesn't, if I was one of those people that cared about who I fought, they're not the proper fighters. I mean, I'm in here, win, lose, or draw, to fight the best people. And James is, from what I've heard and what Chris has told me and what I've watched one or two fights. I still know very little about him. He looks like a good, solid fighter, and that's exactly what I want to win. I want to win and fight against a good, solid fighter. You've got people, I'm not naming names, but out there fighting absolute bums nowadays just to say they're 4-0 and 5-0 and that's not how fighting works. You fight good lads, you get your record, and you take it on the chin, no matter what it is.
Well, like, can you look at something like, let's say, a boxing? You could look at like Anthony Joshua, who's probably the biggest boxer in the world at the moment, and he came up. Obviously, he was an Olympic champion and everything like that, but he came up and he had maybe 20 easy enough fights before he got to step up. Like, do you see any positives in that? Like that something like that could be done for MMA, and it's obviously the step up is going to come at some stage. But is it right to have a step up like in your first couple of pro fights?
I think working a fighter into the pro scene is important. So I think if the promotion were to sit down, and so if all goes well for me and Cage Warriors do want to give me a contract after this for sakes, just so we can go with it, then building me up as a fighter is important, but not giving me easy fights in a sense. I mean, giving me lads who are experienced, maybe in the amateur ranks or have maybe had a couple more fights of pro than me, would be ideal. But like I've said it to Chris about fighting lads who are on the current amateur or the current professional European scene that are 12 and 4 and 13 and 7, and saying I'd batter them, I'll fight them. And he goes, calm down, kid, just take your time, we'll get there eventually. I don't mind a step up. I mean, it's a challenge for me, and I can show them where I'm at then when everyone else wants to see, because I know where I'm at and I know where I'm going. So
how big is it for you having someone like Chris Fields, who's been there and done it, a former Cage Warriors champion, and is just kind of coming through now over the last few years as a coach? Like, tell us about Chris Fields and how good he actually is as a coach, and seemingly as a mentor as well, the way you've been talking about him.
Chris is like, he's like another dad and a big brother in the same way. To me, we get on, like we're so close in the way we are in the gym, but then he brings out that dad mode on you where he's like, do this, and you're like, shit, I have to do what he says. So like we've got a good friendship, but he is an absolute brain box when it comes to MMA. Just listening to him in the gym when lads are in certain positions, and he can see everything unfold in his mind before it's happening. Even if the situation doesn't seem to be going that way, it ends up going what way he's saying. So he's just a wizard when it comes to knowing how fights are going to play out. And it's brilliant to know that and have confidence in your coach. And I'm trying to learn off him in a sense of how his brain works and what way the situations are going to play out from the way he does. But I mean, he runs a great gym. I mean, we started the gym's open, nearly 2.5 years. And we've got one professional fighter fighting for a world title in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So that just shows you the level the gym's at already. And the amateur scene is getting better and better and better and better in the gym. There's lads that haven't fought in the gym that would kick the shit out of half of the Amis in Ireland at the moment. He just runs a solid club. Him and Tom know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they're two pioneers of Irish MMA and just Irish martial arts in general that you can't really go wrong.
100%. For you yourself, like, obviously this is your first professional MMA fight, and I was just looking at your record there in Topology, and I'll thank Pete Carroll for kind of putting me onto you there a couple of months ago. He said, watch this Ian Garry's fights, and I was like, oh Jesus, so you're after building me up. I think this is the next guy now. I've been saying it for a while. I'm not just saying it because you're here. And I don't want to build you up too much, and I don't want you getting a big head or anything. But before we kind of get into that, how did you kind of come into MMA, and like, did you have a background in something else before you came into MMA?
I started boxing when I was 10 or 11, and I went straight into competing in boxing, and I loved it. And then I got sick. I had tonsillitis and broke my arm and playing hurling. And when I went back, I just felt the club wasn't the same. So I decided to move on and concentrated solely on like hurling and GA. And then I worked my way into to judo towards fourth, fifth and sixth year. And then I got my black belt in judo, and my mom and dad didn't want me to start anything new, because they know once I start something, I'm kind of balls to the wall with it. I'm all in for it. And I was telling them, look, I want to start MMA. And they were like, no, not while you're leaving cert's on. And I was like, okay. So once I finished it, I went straight down and fell in love with MMA. Actually training and competing in it. But I've always loved watching it. So the background was kind of set for me anyway with what I'd done since I was a kid. So now it's just bringing it into the professional ranks and starting this journey.
Well, I suppose watching your fights, you could kind of tell, you know, that the hands are really, really good, and you know the feet as well, kickboxing and stuff. And your early fights, maybe when you kind of got pushed up against the fence or on the ground, it was you know, a little bit not ropey isn't the right word, but you could quickly see, you know, going through your fights that was improving, and your game was coming along the whole way. Like, where do you feel the progression is at the moment for you right now?
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I watch my fights quite regularly just to get annoyed, because I see how bad I was back then. In a sense of my mindset, but I'm comfortable wherever the fight goes now, anywhere, any day. I don't care. My grappling and striking has come on leaps and bounds even since my last fight in November, and especially my grappling. Like I'm training hard with Chris Fields, James Webb. We do a class on a Wednesday morning, and it's Chris Fields, Carl Pendred, Phil Mulpeter, Stu Mulpeter, James Webb, myself, a lot, Conrad Iwanowski, Paul Lawrence, heavy top level professional fighters. And just working with them has just brought me to a new level, and it will continue to do that, because I don't see myself stopping this rise anytime soon in the progression stage. So, but it annoys me looking back at my old fights and seeing myself being put in a situation going, if I was in there now, I'd sub the fella. But it's annoying. But at the end of the day, everyone has to learn somewhere, and I came in with more of a kind of a standing background, in the sense of judo was more takedowns and boxing was more stand up. So now it's the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu has all just come to a level where I'm so comfortable.
Yeah, the in-between bits are always seem to be the hardest in MMA. If you have the stand-up and you have the ground game, you can put those bits together, but it does take time too. Another thing I want to ask you is, you know, you mentioned it there earlier, you had a fight on Cage Legacy coming up, and I'm kind of gone mad now because I was going to that fight and I was hoping to be at it. But are you still going to take that fight, or are you kind of going to take it as it comes with the fight this weekend?
I think me and Chris are agreeing that we kind of have to take it as it comes. Obviously, I'm going in thinking that I'm going to win this fight. I mean, if I wasn't going in, I wouldn't have taken the fight. But I'm going in here, and I'm going to try put on a show and make a statement. Just like James, I'm sure will. As I was saying to a couple of people, I mean, if I win this, there's a massive chance that I go in and say I knock him out or I sub him. There's a massive chance, or he does it to me, either of us could get a contract in Cage Warriors. So I don't know what the plan is with Cork. I'll still be down in Cork anyway, because Paul Lawrence will be there. Yeah. But whether I'm actually fighting on the card or not, it will be remain to see. At the moment, my plan is to still fight on the card, but it's a take it as it comes kind of situation.
100%. Like, as kind of and I thank you very much for your time, I won't keep you too much longer. Like, as a kind of an Irish MMA fighter coming up, fighting on the amateur scene now, you know, we talk an awful lot about the Irish amateur scene here on this podcast, and other people talk about it as well, that it's kind of hard to get fights and hard to get pro fights and everything like that as well. Like, for you, kind of the very much a new breed, only fighting for the last year or so, like, has it been frustrating for you, or like are you kind of happy to have maybe time to improve as you go?
Oh no, it was a melt for me. I hated it. We had about 5 or 6 fights confirmed that all fizzled out some way. We had like Cage Legacy making a title for me to try to get me a fight, and people wouldn't fight me. What, like, why? Like, I don't know whether it's down to coaches not accepting a fight for someone because they don't want their fighter to lose, or they don't want their fighter going up against me or anyone at that stage. Or whether the fighters are saying no, but it's amateur. You're in there to compete and to learn. If you lose, you lose. Do you know what I mean? I don't even care if I lose a pro. I'm in there to fight and to win. If I lose, I lose. You're right. You win on your shield and you lose on you like with your shield or on it kind of thing. And that's the best way you have to take it. But at the amateur scene now, and I'm going to say it as well, most of the pros that we could are going around at the moment are kind of trying to soften the record and cushion it a little bit. Like, go out there, fight the best lads, and get a legit record. Like, for example, just because I know it, James Webb, my teammate,
Yeah.
is now fighting for Cage Warriors middleweight title.
Mm-hmm.
James has always fought people with more experience than him. And no one can say to James that he doesn't deserve the title shot. I've seen a few people say maybe he got a bit too early. Well, he didn't. He just knocked out a guy who was vastly more experienced than he was. I don't know if I'm right. Your man Jason Ratcliffe was 13-3. James went out and knocked him out in the first round. He's 100% earned where he is. Mm-hmm. Whereas you've got people now going, oh, I'm 4-0, I'm 5-0, I'm the best in the country, I'm the best in the world. You're not. You haven't fought anyone yet. Mm-hmm. Fight people. Get to a stage where you're fighting top level lads, and then when you're winning them and you're beating them, then you can come out with those claims. But until then, shut your mouth.
I suppose that's a good way to put it. I suppose, and there'll be a lot of lads maybe listening to this now saying, "Oh, maybe he's dragging me out here. Maybe I'll have a fight with him." And in the short term, I suppose
there's a famous thing that Chris says, and I absolutely love it. If you think it's you, probably is.
Oh, if you have any names, so go on. Do you want to call any names, or do you want to?
I don't talk about people. I'm just saying, as a whole, in Irish MMA, it's actually not just in Irish MMA. It's around kind of Europe. It's the same. People are trying to pad their records. Mm-hmm. Those IMAFs are the same. Lads going in making their debuts in IMAF, and people going in fighting who have had maybe 6 and 7 fights and losing to them, and saying, "Oh, well, I was at the World Championships." Yeah, well, like you lost to a lad who hadn't fought before, so.
Like, okay, short term, we kind of know what your plan is, going to Cage Warriors, maybe down to Cage Legacy, or further with Cage Warriors. Let's say the next 5 years. Have you set out in the next 5 years? Where do you hope? Like, is a lot of Irish fighters are going to maybe Bellator now, or going to, okay, Bama's probably gone, but, Bama or Cage Warriors, then onto Bellator, maybe onto the UFC. Like, is there something set out for you? Where do you plan on going?
Yeah, it's in my mind. I have it all. So, obviously, UFC is the top string. It's the top drawer. That's where all the best fighters are. That's where everyone watches. Yeah. Obviously, I'd love to sign for the UFC, and that's my goal. Mm-hmm. And I think if I was to set my goal at Bellator, I'd disappoint myself because I know I'm well capable of. Like, I'm 21. The lads I'm training with and the lads that I'm fighting are always older than me. I haven't even reached the peak. My peak, I won't hit my peak until I'm 25, up till 30 maybe, 35. So I'm still a kid who's just learning this craft, getting better, getting stronger. And eventually I'm just going to jump another 2 or 3 levels to that. In my head, I don't think anyone in Europe will be able to reach me when I'm at that stage. Now, look, that might not happen that way. That's the way it is in my head. And sometimes reality is different, but I feel like I can make it to the UFC. Now, I've got a massive test ahead of me in trying to get through the European scene with Cage Warriors, hopefully, or anyone. But I'd obviously love to sign for the UFC, and then if things are going well, become a UFC champion. And I'm a 21-year-old kid with a dream, and I'm going to do everything in my power to try and make that a reality.
God almighty, you're getting me excited here. Don't be doing it to me. Don't be doing it to me. I have a feeling this won't be the last time we talk. Ian, tell everyone where to follow you on Twitter. If you've anyone you want to give a shout out to, now's your time.
I'd actually love to give a shout out to my sponsors. D-Tron, Chopped, O'Reilly's, Lux Media, Peaky & Co. And then a shout out to everyone at SBG Swords. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am. So, and then, you can get onto me on Instagram and Facebook. It's pretty easy. It's just Ian Garry. Mm-hmm. So
you've no Twitter as well, aren't you? Or why?
I'm a newbie to Twitter. I literally got it yesterday.
Oh, really? I'll tell them where do people follow you there?
I think it's at Ian Garry 3. Beautiful. Is the at. So, but appreciate the time anyway.
Thanks very much, Ian. Really appreciate it. I'm sure I'll talk to you again. Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll see you all next time.